Right. I am here with the man. Listen, I've been bugging this man. This man must be sick to death of hearing from me on Twitter. Jesus fucking Christ. I've been hitting up this guy non-stop for the last couple of weeks, man. Troy, I bet you wish it was I bet you wish it was a good-looking blonde woman that was in your DMs as much as I've been in them in the last week or two there.
I wish it was Costa Coffee.
I really apologise. Listen, I've been keen, to get you on for a while. I've been watching you since you was on Queensbury Promotions, watching you at undercards. And like I said before, I used to speak to a little bit in a previous life on Twitter before I got put on the naughty step, so to speak. So, been following you for a while. First and foremost, the Commonwealth champion. Before we get into your fight of the year contender with Cheeseman, right? I just want to say to you quickly and ask you, how's your life changed, Troy? Because we just had a little quick little natter about that, just before we come on the live. Just want to ask you, how has your life changed? Are you more recognisable in the street? Are we going to start seeing you with an anti-Joshua style entourage? Everybody wearing 258 management t-shirts and 50 people in the changing room. How's it been, Troy, since you've become the man in this country?
It's been good. Yeah. I have been a little bit more recognised there, walking around the streets or being in different towns or different cities. But I'm the same old Troy Williamson. Nothing's changed. Nothing will change. But yeah, I've been a lot of manic. People ask me for interviews, sponsorships jumping on board, and just like people that I've not spoke to for a long time that have just come out the woodworks and things like that. It comes and goes. Obviously, it's part of the parcel. Obviously, I know where I am and where I've come from and who's been there from the beginning. So it just goes. But everything that I hear is through one ear and not the other from all the
Jesus. I tell you what, Troy. I wouldn't want to. It's a weird one, mate. I wouldn't say I wouldn't want to be you, but it can get quite difficult for a fighter, can it? Like you said, people coming out the woodwork, people you ain't spoken to in years, people asking you for favours, probably people all of a sudden want to be your best mate. And like I said, Troy, you got to stay true, haven't you, pal?
Yeah, 1,000,000%. And obviously, I'll always stay true to myself and those that have been with me from the start. So,
let me ask you, when you got this Cheeseman fight, when you first got announced that you were going to be fighting for the British title against Cheeseman, what was your first thoughts that come in your head? Was it like a kind of thing where you thought, look, I'm too big for this guy, I'm too strong for this guy's been in wars, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to do a job? Or did you treat it like, this is going to be the toughest part of my career, I'm possibly on the biggest stage I've ever been on the zone, this is going to be tough? Like, just trying to get into to the mind of, when that fight was announced, what was your mindset? Did your confidence build up as you sort of went through camp and you went through, or were you pretty much thought, look, I'm too much for this guy?
Yeah, obviously, I'm a confident man anyways. As soon as the fight got announced, obviously, I knew that I'd be a bit too much for Cheeseman, if I'm honest. I've always said I'm massive for 11 stone. And,
absolutely. I mean, the size difference, by the way, look, Tuma, just quickly, Spartan, what do you walk around that, Troy? Because you look massive at the weight. But you keep in top shape. So it's hard to know, isn't it? Because you're always in the gym.
Yeah, I'm always in the gym. Obviously, I live the life. But yeah, going back obviously on what you said, I was confident from the start, and going through camp, the way I was sparring, the way I was training, the way I was performing in the gym, the confidence just grew, and I knew that somebody like Ted would bring the best out of me, and it showed on the night.
It showed on the night, and just a quick question: your tactics going in, when you were prepping with your coach and you were looking in. I know you don't want to give this too much away, but were there any like specific shots you were looking at? Were there any sort of specific shots or any kind of drills when you were doing the pads or when you was in sparring or you got your sparring partners in? How did you approach it? Did you approach it same old Troy Williamson, same old kind of sparring, same old kind of sparring partners, same old kind of drills? Or were there kind of special shots that you looked at or special things that you looked at in preparation for the fight? Do you want to get an idea into your preparation for the fight, if possible? Your mindset, mate.
Yeah, now there was nothing that we really worked on, to be honest. We knew what Ted was like. Obviously, great technical boxer and a come forward fighter. So I just kept me sparring local with the two lads in my gym, Bobby Dalton and Rizard Lewicki, two pros that have just started out their careers. And obviously, very promising careers themselves. So just kept it local with them, and it was great sparring. Didn't need to travel nowhere. But the things we're working on really is just keeping a good solid base, because we know he likes to fight hard, and just being first.
Yeah.
First time that changes.
Yeah, lots of left hooks there, lots of doubling up on the left hooks upstairs and downstairs. Did you just out of interest, Troy? Were you one of them Mike Tyson fans? A lot of peekaboo going on there on the inside as well. Where'd you get that? Just naturally developed, or because a lot of boxers start off, they love Tyson, and that's how they got into boxing. A lot of people our age, Troy.
Yeah, it's not based on obviously I do like Mike Tyson, but I don't base my style on Mike Tyson. I don't really base my style on no fighter, if I'm honest.
Okay. What about just quickly before we get into the fight itself? Footage. Did you watch a lot? Do you watch any footage of these opponents? Do you spend time studying them? Or some fighters don't like to do that, because they just think, look, I don't want to sort of psych myself out. I know I'm too much for this guy. I'll get in on the ring on the night, and we'll figure it out as they go, or they leave to the coaches? Or is it just a case of, look, you'd already seen a lot of him anyway, because he's been quite around on Sky Sports anyway. You've been watching him for a while, you'd seen it, you knew what to expect.
Yeah, I knew what to expect. I've seen him as an amateur, and obviously I followed his pro career. Knew exactly what to expect. Like I did say, he's a great technical boxer, and he loves to come forward. And I knew at some point in that fight that he'd revert back to old tactics, and he'll just want to have a fight. And it played in my part, so it would be down to the ground.
That's what they say. I mean, I'm not a fighter, Troy. I've only done a bit of sparring, and that's it, mate. I'm not man enough to get in the ring and risk it all. But there's an old saying, Troy, is when the fighters get hurt, they always revert back to what they are, Troy. That's what they say in the ring.
Yes.
Go quick comment. I have to ask you this. MG asked, did Cheeseman hurt you at any point in the ring? I have to ask because he's asked. Did you any hurt? Did you feel the shots, or any spite in them, or just
Yeah, I was just respectful with his power, but no, I wasn't once hurt in the fight.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm not blind enough to think that nobody can hurt me, because with them 10-ounce gloves on, and like you said, it only takes one shot. But no, there was never a point in that fight where I felt stunned or wobbled or anything.
No, and to be honest, did you feel from it looked to me from the first round, really, from when you really stepped in behind your jab and started landing them hooks up on the inside, you could tell, even when the shots weren't landing, you were physically knocking, the physical strength was so much, you were literally knocking him off balance and moving him around. Did you feel that as well when you was in the ring, as soon as you started landing?
Yeah, I felt physically strong in there. Done a lot of work with my strength and conditioning coach to get the legs nice and strong, and obviously all the work that I put in with my boxing coach. So yeah, camp went great, sparring went great, everything went perfect, and it all showed in the night. And I was confident, and my team was confident in becoming a new British welterweight champion.
What do you think about? I'm trying to get some things up to show you here, but future opponents, right? Anthony Fowler's moved up a weight. He's gone to like 160. Is that a fight that you would have? That's a bit of a shame as well, because with Fowler, obviously, he's not a massive draw, but he has a bit of a following down in Liverpool. You could go back into the Lions Den, MS Bank Arena, and possibly go on and do a job there. Are you firmly looking at, look, I'm above British level now, I want to move on to European title level? Or are there some domestic fights out there, like maybe a Fitzgerald or maybe a Fowler, that would interest you? And yeah, and I haven't checked, I haven't double checked, but I believe you're Team GB anyway. So you've probably seen a ton of these guys, or possibly been in there with these guys before anyway.
Yeah, well, I boxed Fowler as an amateur in the ABA final, so it would have been great to share the ring with him as a professional, because there'd have been a bit of a story behind it. But like you said, he's moved up. I'll be staying at 154 for the time being, and who knows? I'm like you said, I've only just won the British title, so you can't really say that I'm above domestic level yet. But I would gladly take the winner out of that Lagaraja and Flatley for the European title match.
Just waiting today. But if not, have you got an opponent lined up? If MTK got, and just Troy, just to butt in, if you can, MTK are a bit. A lot of people want to know what it's like being on MTK. There's so many fighters out there that speak so highly of MTK. They're almost like, in America, they have the whole thing where they thank Al Heyman because everybody thinks it's so great to work with Al Heyman. MTK are known as like one of the best in the business. If you could just give a word on what it's like to actually be under the MTK banner and how they look after you and things like that, and the things they've done for you in your career, just to give us an insight into what it's like, why it's such a great place to box.
Well, it speaks for themselves. Obviously, they manage the likes of Tyson Fury, Billy Joe Saunders, Josh Taylor. They've got like the world's best. They've got the world's best boxers. Without MTK, I'd find it a lot harder when I was with Frank Warren, because MTK pushed me to get on these big shows, and obviously they've always backed me. But yeah, I think without MTK, possibly I might not have been in this position that I'm in now.
Just a quick question before we get on to, we've got a few people in chat. Troy, what would you have done, just quickly, if you weren't a fighter, if you weren't what you were now? Do you know what you would have been or where you would have been?
Don't have an idea.
Sorry if that's a really bad question.
That's not a bad question. Before I boxed, I used to work on the railway.
Yeah.
On the lines, fixing the railway basically. But that wasn't me life dream to be stuck on the railway doing night shifts in the pissing down rain. But if I didn't box, I'm sure there'd have been something that I'd have stuck to and done good. Yeah, but boxing's my life, and that's plan A for now. And
yeah, did you always have it?
I'll be a world champion one day, hopefully.
Did you always have it in your head that, look, boxing's what? I mean, a lot of people in my gym, it's not a top gym, but a lot of these young lads, they've got no plan B, Troy, honestly. Like, all that's on their mind is boxing and becoming a champion. A lot of them find out that actually saves them from being on the streets or being in trouble. So that's why I asked you, like, I was going to ask if you felt boxing kept you, out of the straight and narrow and kept you, out of maybe possibly some other things.
Yeah, well, Williamson, it did. I wasn't a bad kid growing up, but yeah, it did keep me on the straight and narrow and stop me going out down the town on a drink, partying, whatever. But obviously I'm not one of these that say boxing saved my life or anything. I just obviously I chose boxing rather than go out partying.
Yeah. So, and just if you don't mind me asking, like, when you're not boxing in a spare time, or you're known for being a guy, like I said, that dedicates himself to the gym. What kind of guy are you? Are you kind of like a keep yourself to you come across like a quiet, keep yourself to yourself guy, very, very tight circle guy, keep a couple of select people around you, not a sort of you get a lot of these fighters, they get a bit of fame, not being funny, bit out in the town, you see them everywhere, you see them in faces, you see them out and about. You seem a bit different from that, a bit different like that.
Yeah, exactly. I'm well grounded. I know where I've been, where I've come from to where I am now, and I'm far from where I want to be. So, yeah, my feet are firmly on the ground, and like you say, obviously, I'll never change.
It's what it is. Luke Bignell says, let's go for some quick comments. Yes, that's exactly it, Troy. Everybody knew Cheeseman would revert to type and forget the boxing game. He'd mainly do it at the end of the rounds. Look, I'll tell you what, Troy, I don't want to take the piss here, but I want to ask you, taking punishment in boxing, right?
Yeah.
Got to be careful what I say here, but Cheeseman's is quite a young man, right? He's like 25, 27. He's taken a lot of punishment in the sport, a lot of punishment in boxing, and a lot of hard fights, particularly this last one with you. Troy, how important is it for you when you go in there in that ring as a fighter? Do you think about, look, not taking too much punishment, keeping your faculties, and making sure that, you're already a champion, but making sure, you get out of the game, with your faculties in shape? Because a lot of fighters, Troy, I tell you, they have a lot of problems when they leave this sport, as you very well know.
Yeah, so obviously, when you're warming up and you're putting them gloves on to hit the pads, first thing through my mind is, fucking hell, I hope we don't get caught clean with these. They're fucking tiny. They're absolutely, they are tiny. But some people, some boxers have that style where they don't get hit, where they hit and don't get hit. Some fighters have that style where they do get hit. I can box. People don't realize how good I can box. I can box a bit, but I still take a few shots. But I don't think I take too many shots. Obviously, you're in boxing, you can't swim without getting wet. You're obviously in boxing, you're going to get hit.
Can't swim without you.
That's exactly right. Like you say, you gotta be what's the word? You gotta be cute, and then you gotta think. You can't just think, right, I'm gonna go and blast this dude's head off, because you're gonna walk on the shots.
Yeah,
boxing's a thinking man's game.
Yeah, and obviously for you, like I said, it's that balance in it, because you're quite a physical fighter. So you want to go in there, you want to impose your strength. You don't want to be sort of a guy like Cheeseman. You don't want to be fancy dancing around there too much, because you're the big man. You want to get stuck in. You want to put it on him. You want to get him on the back foot as well. Obviously, the shots probably don't hurt as much when you've got a guy moving backwards. You're pushing him around. You're pushing him off balance. So you want to impose yourself, but obviously there's that little balance in it there about not getting hit.
Oh, exactly.
I want to ask you about Laraja. What do you think about that? Listen, when you see Laraja, if you were offered the Laraja fight next, this guy, Troy, about 2-3 years ago, was being spoken about as a possible world champion by Lou DiBella. I think he was managed by Lou DiBella at the time. Very, very highly rated guy. Then he had those 2 losses to Avanesian and Ben. And we'll just talk a little bit about people around your division in a second. Obviously, you're a fighting man. You'd fight anybody. So it's probably the dumbest fucking question I could ever ask. But do you think you're ready for that Laraja fight? If that fight got offered to you straight up next for the European title, I know you're a fighting man, you'd fight anybody, but in an ideal world, right, would you say, look, I've just got to be British? A lot of fighters want to win the British outright, because a lot of fighters say, look, it's the best looking belt in all of boxing, to be honest, the British. And a lot of fighters want to win it outright. What do you think the smart move? Just try and take the warrior hat off for a second, yeah? What's the smart move for Troy Williamson? Defend this title, get used to being a champion, get used to being on these bigger platforms, build up into that fight, or just say, look, take the Laraja fight now. What do you think?
I think the Laraja fight, I think I'd knock him dead as a nit, if I'm completely honest with you. And I think it'd be a good payday. I'd go to Bilbao, and I think he's there for the taking. That's my honest opinion. I'm not blowing smoke up my own ass, I think.
No.
A lot of people say, like, jumping from British to European level is a big, massive jump, but I don't think in this situation and who the champion is, I don't think it is. I think Ted Cheeseman's a better fighter than Laraja.
Yeah, no, I that what you're saying makes perfect sense. It's about styles make fights, and it's about the matchup. And we are talking about a guy who was knocked out twice in his own backyard by a welterweight in Avanesian, and you're huge for the weight.
Like you said, styles make fights, and he's there to be it. And you've seen Jez Smith hurt him numerous times, and Jez Smith's a welterweight. Don't get me wrong, obviously Jez Smith's a great fighter, but I think Jez Smith's a weight below what he's been fighting at. He's just been taking the opportunities. So I think if I hit Laraja clean, I think I'll wipe him out.
Troy, I don't want to. If you still got another 15 minutes for me, we've got the chat starting to build up. We've got quite a few questions going. I know you got to go training, but if you still got another 15 minutes, all right. Yeah, I really appreciate it. Right, let's ask. Blue Collar Sports says, how beneficial was the World Series of Boxing in preparation to your pro career?
Great preparation. I got slung in the deep end. I had five fights in the WSB. I lost all 5. But when I was on Team GB, I was still developing as a fighter. I was young. I only had 30-something fights, and I was fighting Olympic champions, world champions, kids that have gone to previous Olympics. So I got flung in the deep end a little bit, but I held my own, and I learned a lot from them fights.
Let me just quickly ask you, but we're going to start asking you about boxing in general in a sec. But I want to ask you about amateur versus pro boxing, right? Well, I think I know the answer to this, even though I've never had a fight. But can you just tell us, like, what do you think, right? Someone who's been through it at the highest level, right? What do you think the biggest difference between amateur and pro boxing is, other than the size of the gloves, right? What do you think is the biggest? Because we often hear, Troy, people say things like, "Oh, well, he's a guaranteed cert, right? He's a guaranteed cert to do it in the pros, right? Because he got X, Y, and Z in the amateurs." But I'm a believer. Let me know what you think about this. I'm a believer that certain fighters, maybe you, their styles are just geared more towards the pros. They're geared more towards the longer rounds. They're geared towards that more bruising style, that more physical style, that more inciting style. You're landing shots to hurt people, to break people down, rather than scoring points. Do you think I'm full of shit there, or do you think I've got a point? And what do you think are the biggest differences there?
They've got a point. I think the biggest difference is, you said one, longer rounds, planting your feet more, trying to hurt them. and it's a lot more physical. Where amateur boxing's a case of getting in, getting out, getting in, getting out.
That's it.
Point time. So they're professionals, a lot more dirty. Bend them down and use your forearm.
And you think that suits you down to the ground as a fighter, yeah?
Yeah, I think it suits me down to the ground. That's 1,000,000%. I'm quite physical in there. I'm not a dirty fighter, but I'm physical and I use my strength. And I can sit down on my shots and I get stronger as the fight goes on.
Let me quickly ask before we move on to some of more of these comments. I have to ask you about, if you don't mind, keeping in shape and dieting. All right. Now you caught me out. What I was planning to do, Troy, before you caught me out there with this early interview was I was planning to get up loads of pictures of this of Christmas dinner and shove them in front of you and ask you which foods you can eat and which foods you can't eat. I was also going to show you my diet, Troy. Do you know what I mean? Because I don't know if you've seen the. Do you know what I mean? We're quite similar in skin color, but I've got a significantly bigger belly than you. I wanted to know what you thought about my diet in particular, but. At the minute, Troy, you're not in the middle of fighting, but you're keeping in top shape. What are the kind of things, just out of interest, how many times a day do you train? What are the kind of things you eat? Can you do what I do, Troy? After this, I'll probably go and have a chicken tikka masala, yeah? With a sagaloo and a few poppadoms. Can you do that right now? Can you not, or what not?
Not right now because I'm training. But after training, yeah, why not?
Why not?
Just it's about balance, like. You might obviously you're looking at me. I'm looking in great shape. I'm in good shape. I don't let myself go out of shape, but I am quite heavy. That's just because I'm not calorie counter and I'm not watching what I eat. I'm just eating good food, but I just eat plenty.
Right. And so if you don't mind me asking, I have to ask. So what are you gonna have tonight then? What? It's just gonna be chicken breast and veg or whatnot? You know?
Yeah, but obviously I've got a few meal preps, so yeah, it is obviously clean food, but it's just plenty of it, if you know what I mean. Like you say, it is like, chicken, veg, rice, but I'll just have probably twice the portion as what I would have if I was in a camp, make them wait.
Yeah, why not? And you'll be eating the old malarkey at Christmas this year? You'll be putting Brussels sprouts on your plate and all that? You'll be doing the whole shebang?
Yeah, I'll have a bit of a wild Christmas and then I'll be out Boxing Day and then that's it. After that, start camp.
Don't go Billy Joe Saunders on us, please. All right, let's.
I won't go that out of shape.
All right. Luke Bignell says, "Were you good at any other sports? You just a good athlete?"
Yeah, I was not a bad runner. I was a half-decent footballer.
What you do in athletics? I ran a little bit myself. Go on.
I just run. Through school, I was like I was a bit of a sprinter.
Oh, all right, yeah, bit of explosive, yeah. Fair enough. All right, let's talk about some of the people in and around your weight and some of the things that are going on in boxing. Let's get some opinions for 5 or 10 minutes, and then I'll let you crack on with training. Lyndon Arthur versus Anthony Yarde. A few people are asking me about that in the chat. How do you see that fight going? Let me ask you a question as well, Troy. I want to ask you a question about trainers because my mate, right? Well, I can't get him on the show, but my mate Tunde Ajayi is a very, very polarizing figure, yeah. In the world of boxing for being quite outlandish, quite out there, quite outspoken. Just I wanted to get your views on Yarde and Arthur, but I also wanted to ask you what you look for in a trainer because do you like the kind of trainers that are quite silent, that don't put themselves out there, that just the Rob McCracken type of trainers who were just very, very short to the point, get to the point, actions more louder than words, or do you ever see yourself getting on with someone like a Tunde? He's quite flamboyant, he's quite out there, does a lot of fancy Mayweather style pad routines, doesn't mind taking a microphone. Just give us any thoughts that come into your head there, Troy, about what I've just said.
No, it's not for me. Everybody's different. Everybody needs a hype man behind them. But my coach, he's like you say, no one knows who he is. He's quiet, a bit like Ron McCracken. He's quiet, keeps himself in the background, but he knows boxing. He knows how to read the fight game, and obviously he's had me from the beginning. And I believe that I'm getting better and better at each fight. So that's what I look for. Obviously, that's what I look for in a coach. Somebody you can trust.
Yeah,
somebody who puts the time and effort into it, and somebody who can read a fight game.
And because I've met a couple of quite semi-well-known coaches in my time. I've literally fallen out with all of them, literally, right? Because I just think sometimes for you to gel with a coach, some people gel with certain personalities, do you know what I mean? And that kind of, that flamboyant sort of talkative style, you know, you might be with him, he'd probably be up on the stage right now doing this interview for you or doing the talking for you. Some fighters don't really gel well with that, do they? Some fighters kind of gel. And when you do your quick scope, when you do your pad routines, you're not interested in any of that Mayweather style pad work. Why is that? What is the thought of that? Some fighters just say, look, you should only practice the shots you're going to throw in the ring.
Yeah, it's not realistic, is it? Like, yeah, 4 realistic punches, 1, 2, like the basics, 1, 2, jab,
yeah,
1, 2 hooks, like all that 12-punch combinations, slip, roll. You're never going to do that in a fight. Like, it looks fair enough. It looks good for the camera. It does look good for the camera, but let's be honest. I don't think that's all Mayweather done. I think that was just for the camera. I think behind the scenes, it'd been a lot of hard work.
Mate, absolutely. They call it the doghouse, mate. Vicious sparring when the cameras are off down at the gym. Your thoughts on, just quickly, on Arthur and Yarde? Who have you got in that fight? Just out of interest.
I think it's going to be Arthur points win again. I think, as Pat Barrett said in the press conference, styles make fights, and I think Lyndon Arthur's too big, and I think he's just going to keep it long. Like, again, like people say, it's boring. Some people don't. If you're a boxing fan and you know what boxing is, then you can. It's not boring. Like, it's hitting, not get hit, isn't it? And I think Lyndon Arthur just, if he can jab all night and win the fight with the jab, I think that's what he will do.
And does that go back to what we said before, Troy, about the fundamentals of boxing? About, look, at the end of the day, you know, establishing the jab, which is what Lyndon Arthur managed to do very successfully in that first fight. You know, rather than some of the more flashy, advanced stuff or some of the other stuff that's going on. The bottom line of it was Lyndon Arthur just has those solid fundamentals. And that's what something that you like to implement in your fights. Solid jab, you know, establish the jab, knock them off balance, push them back, dominate the fight behind that. And then just work the shots off your jab, or work the combinations, or work your feet off the jab. Is that what a case of it is, what it is, Troy? Linda's just got them better fundamentals, better, more well schooled, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. Let's go carry on. So go on, jump in, bro. Jump in. So I thought you were going to jump in there, Troy. No problem. Sorry.
Oh, what's that? Oh, I thought someone was going to jump on the webcam.
No, it's only you, bro. So me making a fool of myself and you. Right, Dave Payne says, if Troy could pick to fight one of the champions in his division, who would he pick and why? Anybody. I know Laraja, we've already discussed that. But is there anybody else that you look at, right, and you think, you know what, here, there's a chance to make a lot of money on a big platform against a fighter that's quite well known, and that's my style. I know I've got him, or I know my style gels well with him. That'll make a great fight.
Obviously, it'd have to be something that's obviously above British, otherwise it won't make sense. So we've took Laraja out. Who's next? World champions? Only.
What can I ask you? What?
I think they're tied up in 2 fighters. I think there's Charlo and Castano.
Yeah, rematching. I think February time.
Yeah, rematch. So
what if Fitzgerald? We know Fitzgerald's had these long documented problems, right? Very, very sad. Obviously, he's not a huge draw, but he was British Commonwealth champion. He has some kind of following. He's an excellent seller of a fight. The banter would be absolutely hilarious. Would that have been, maybe he's a bit out of your sights now because of what's happened to him, but would that, if the timing was right, would that be a fight that you'd think that'd be great for the fans, great banter on a big platform? Both of you's like to come forward. Both of you can sit in the trenches.
Yeah, it would have been a great fight. I respect Scott Harley, great fighter and a great guy outside the ring. Hopefully we do get to see him back. He is missed in the boxing game, and yeah, that would have been a cracking fight. Done plenty of rounds sparring, and so I was entertaining.
Boxing Hype 55 says, I don't know if you can answer this, but he says, any advice on cutting weight? Recovered from a recent hand injury. He boxes, this bloke here, he boxes down in Brighton with the old Eubanks. So this guy actually boxes down in the Eubanks gym. Any advice on cutting weight after a recent hand injury?
The best source of cutting weight is drinking water. the more water you drink, the less water you hold, and it's proven. So yeah, just get on the water and drink plenty of it.
Not kissing ass, but I actually had a chat with a professional trainer once, and they told me that exactly thing. Just drink bottles of it. Drink bottle. You know what it's like. You ever see like Brooke and Galahad in particular? You never see him without a bottle of water. You never see him. Constant, mate. Boxing Life says, "How is Eddie Hearn like behind the camera?" I'm sure. Look, it was great to be on the Match and DAZN MTK platform. Treated you well, Troy, and probably be back there as soon as possible if you can.
Yeah, definitely. Didn't really have much crack, to be fair. But to tell a lie, he came up to me at the breakfast table the day after I beat Ted, and he congratulated me. Said he didn't think I had it. He didn't think that I had what I had in me. And he just wished me well in the future, and obviously he'd like to see me back. So he seemed sound, to be fair. But apart from that, I didn't really speak to him.
Fair enough. Well, I'm sure you'll be speaking to him in the future, Troy, because like I said, big things going ahead, and it looks like I don't want to sort of push you on it, but I would expect that DAZN would want to have you back, especially with the fight against Laraja. That just makes the most sense. They've got DAZN in Spain. Everybody's just seen you beat Cheeseman, so makes sense. That's the for you.
Go over there, take the European title, and have a hold afterwards.
That's it. All right, we'll finish up with some final questions. We've got your prediction for Arthur and Yarde 2. Off to sparring, off to training. Just what's your schedule for the rest of the day? Just so we just know. So off to do a spar, off to do pads.
Yeah, sparring later, walk my dogs, and then just.
What do you think about, just quickly? We've had a lot of pullouts in boxing recently.
A lot of what?
A lot of pullouts in the sport of boxing recently. A lot of pullouts, a lot of injuries that are happening. We have a lot of chat here about when you should stop hard sparring. I don't know if you can answer this. Don't have to answer it if you don't want to. But is there a point during training where you just say, "Look, week out, 2 weeks out, I'm not hard sparring anymore because I don't want to get cut. I don't want to risk the fight." Well, some fighters do it the other way. Some fighters just as a little bit of an extra confidence boost will have a spar. Some fighters will spar 2-3 days before a fight. What, do you have any rules on that? Do you have any rules on, look, you taper off, no matter how bad the camp's been, I'm tapering off, I'm shutting this down, and that's it. That's the end of it.
Yeah, we have we'll give it a week. Have our last spar a week out. Sparring 2 or 3 days before a big fight is a little bit risky, but each to their own.
Each to their own. And just final question. Who did you, anybody you looked up to in the sport? Is there anybody in boxing that you admire, like fighters that you just sit and watch tape? You don't have to, but just, are there any fighters that you sit and like, who excites you? Who is there in the world of boxing right now that you look at and you just think, right, he's fighting, right? I have to watch this. I can't miss this because he's watching. Like, who are the blockbuster fighters in your opinion?
Probably well. I like Terence Crawford and I like Gervonta Davis.
Yeah.
Tyson Fury, Joshua, the Fury.
How do you think? What do you think about? Any thoughts about? I don't know if you were around GB at the same time, so I'm not sure what experience you've got. But Josh Taylor and Gervonta. Any thoughts on that? As how you see that going, or you don't have to.
Yeah. Josh Taylor would be massive on the night.
Massive, isn't he? Huge.
In the ring. Obviously, Gervonta Davis, it's ridiculously hard for the weight, but couldn't pick it if I'm honest. I think it's that'd be a very, very, very good fight.
Very, very good fight. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. All right, Troy. I appreciate your time. I'll let you crack off to training. Listen, I really, really appreciate the interview.
Thank you.
No, listen, I really appreciate the short notice. And listen, like I said before, anytime you want to get something out there, anytime you want to chat, speak to the people, you're more than welcome. Win, lose, or draw. We won't. I'll tell you one thing about me. If you ever do take a loss, it won't be that you never hear from me again, or that we never ask how you are or anything like that. We don't do stuff like that. So, Troy, I really appreciate your time. I'll let you crack off the training. Big up the Trojan, and peace out, my man.
Yeah, see you soon, mate.
Take two, mate. Bye.
Bye.